Hi guys! Before we begin with today's story, I wanted to tell you something. You can skip ahead if you want. I have a goal of being able to reach 100,000 subscribers, and I wanted to ask for your help to make it come true. So many of you enjoy my videos, but don't subscribe. If you could please consider subscribing, it would be wonderful. And if you don't, it's totally okay. A comment and a like on the video will also help out a lot. Thank you so much for your help and support, guys. Today, we'll be recapping a story called Can't Pretend to Be Blind Anymore. Enjoy. In a very lavish-looking house, Stein calls for Ophelia and introduces Lady Ariel Green and asks for Ophelia's permission if the lady can stay in the mansion's annex. Ophelia then smilingly welcomes Ariel. Then, she becomes silent as her eyes turn dark, eyeing the two above her. And there you have it, our first potential villain of the day. As Ariel sees Ophelia's gaze, she shivers, making Stein worry, so he scolds Ophelia for making Ariel scared. Ophelia dryly replies that as his wife, she can't interfere with her husband's business. I'm sorry, what? So this means that Ophelia and Stein are a married couple and the lady he just brought is his mistress? I take that back. Ophelia then takes her step on the stairs, going up, and as she passes in front of the two, she utters how great it is of Stein to bring a whore into the family, and clarifies that she will not support Ariel financially, which angers Stein and yells at her, challenging her to say it again. This guy's audacity! But Ophelia pretends that she hears nothing and continues walking until she arrives at the balcony, shutting the two behind her. You go, girl. Don't let them just step over you. There, she happily breathes a sigh of relief and feels so refreshed. Ophelia Heavenwalker is the only daughter of the Count Heavenwalker. It reveals that she had died once at the age of 25 from an unknown illness, and during her last days, Stein didn't seem to care for her and prioritized being with Ariel. Ugh, what a heartless husband. The next thing Ophelia knew when she woke up, she returned back when she was 22, the same time that Stein introduced Ariel to her. So in this second life of hers, she swears that she'll never let the two win, and she'll return the pain they gave her in her first life even more cruelly. They deserved it, honestly. Meanwhile, Stein is angry with how Ophelia humiliated him, but then Ariel calms him, which instantly lightens his mood. Then he holds her hands as he offers to guide her to her room. Ugh, they make me sick. Being born into one of the wealthiest families in the empire, people called Ophelia lucky as she had everything. But she grew up without her father's attention due to being so busy sailing for business. And her mother died when she was just 7. We really can't just have everything in life, can we? Even amidst care, she felt lonely, a void within. At 19, a party left her feeling out of place. Fleeing, she met Stein, love at first sight. Believing he'd fill her heart's void, she rushed to marry him. Count Heavenwalker opposed, but she persisted, gaining authority over the estate, while Stein would inherit the title. This condition upset Stein, but the Count's decision was firm. As it should. Fathers also know best. After their marriage, Ophelia's father warned her not to trust men too much and that she must look and learn beyond what is love, and only then would she be happy. And that was the last thing she heard from her father before he died in his sailing at the sea. Ugh, I feel bad for her losing both parents at such a young age. Then, things started to change. Stein's expenses increased, and he went out frequently and started dating his mistress. Ophelia's self-esteem hit rock bottom, and she blames herself for why Stein had an affair. It's never the woman's fault, Ophelia. Keep that in mind, ladies. Still, she did everything she could to win over her husband and didn't give up despite the fact that she was fighting a losing battle. Then one day, when she went to check on Stein, she saw him having fun with Ariel, and suddenly she started coughing blood. Instead of Stein aiding his wife, he shooed her away and prioritized his mistress. This man really makes our blood boil. It was only Anna, Ophelia's maid, that aided her. When Ophelia turned 25, she fell very ill and kept on coughing blood. And on the day of her death, the last thing she saw was the scene of Stein and Ariel being so intimate with each other. Cruel. When Ophelia wakes up, she realizes that she is back to her 22-year-old self. Thinking of her husband's cheating, she feels pathetic and is about to take off the wedding ring on her finger when Anna interrupts her for a meal. She then remembers in her previous life where Stein complained about her weight, so she starved herself. But now she will not let him have control over her. Yes, girl, yes! So she decides to go to the dining room, and what welcomes her is the sight of Stein and Ariel being so sweet to each other while eating. Ugh, cringe alert. Ophelia confidently takes the master's seat, paying no mind to Stein and Ariel's presence. When Stein points out her rightful seat, she nonchalantly responds that the master's seat is where she belongs, and casually mentions that the seat Ariel is occupying used to be hers. This prompts Ariel to excuse herself, claiming she's on a diet, and Stein follows her, leaving the room. Left alone with her loyal servants, Ophelia instructs Anna that Ariel's meal expenses will now be covered from Stein's budget, as she reaffirms her decision to stop pretending to be blind to their schemes. You go, girl. Shove it in their face that you're the real boss. As Ophelia prepares to leave for her carriage outside, she spots Stein and Ariel inside the main part of the house. Annoyed because Ariel is meant to be staying in the annex or the outhouse, she calls for Jackson, the Heavenwalker's butler, and asks him to escort Ariel away from the mansion's main manor. The mistress should learn her place. As Ophelia steps into her carriage, headed for Madame Kate's boutique, memories of her mother flood back. Madame Kate was dear to both of them, and now Ophelia seeks to repay her kindness, which she couldn't do in her previous life. Upon arriving, Madame Kate warmly greets her and presents a book of Madame Schutz's designs. Ophelia, though grateful, expresses her desire for dresses personally crafted by Kate. At the moment, ladies are so into Madame Schutz's dresses, but she knows that later on, Madame Kate's style of dress will be the new trend, and she wants to be the first one to wear them. What a dream, being the first one to set the trend. Kate then gives Ophelia her book that contains her designs, which makes Ophelia beam with excitement. When Ophelia has decided on the design she likes, Kate promises to make the perfect dress just for the lady. Ophelia then looks around the boutique and orders every dress she sees that fits her likings, and even orders all the accessories displayed. Ugh, to have this power of money. When Ophelia comes home, she sees Jackson kneeling in front of Stein and Ariel. As Ophelia confronts the situation, Stein lashes out at her for relocating Ariel to the mansion's outhouse. However, Ophelia swiftly rebuts, reminding him that it was his own suggestion for Ariel to stay there in the first place. She continues that people might think that Ariel is a countess, even though she was just from a baron family, and reminds Stein of his title, that he just became a count due to her decision on marrying him, making Stein more annoyed. Oh, burn! Well, Ophelia has every right to tell them where to stay, since she's the rightful owner of the house. Defeated, Stein and Ariel walk away while Ophelia orders Jackson to rise. Ophelia then proceeds to the study as she ponders on how to keep the household maintain its prestige even when she'll be gone. As she checks the accounting book, she confirms her suspicion that Stein is indeed overspending their finances. Again, the audacity! As she thinks of ways on how to generate money, she remembers in her past life about investing in the slum area of the 13th and 14th district. She read in a newspaper from her past that 2 years from now, the slum area will be transformed by the second prince and Duke Bryant by constructing a project there which became a huge success. Must be nice to know what will happen in the future and use it to your advantage. Ophelia believes that she can acquire the land for a low price and sell it at a higher price. As she further assesses her plan, Anna knocks on the door and brings her a dessert. She then asks Anna if Ariel has moved to the outhouse already, which Anna confirms. Meanwhile, Stein is in his chamber, so annoyed as he thought how Ophelia had changed. While lying on the bed, he thinks of Ariel as he misses her. Then suddenly, Ariel appears in his room. Girl, can't you just stay in the outhouse just as Ophelia tells you? Annoying. In a real estate office, 3 men are sulking at the table as they whine about their business not doing well. Just then, their mood shifts as they see Ophelia enter the office and then happily welcome her. Ophelia doesn't waste any time and inquires about the 13th and 14th district lot. Then one of the agents tells her that there's also a man who came to them a few days ago, asking the same thing. Hearing this, Ophelia asks if the man purchased the said lots already, and after knowing that it was not yet sold, she immediately told him that she will buy the 2 whole lots. Wow, it looks like she's just buying a piece of bread. As the agents discuss the swift sale of the lots in the 13th and 14th districts, a mysterious man suddenly emerges, inquiring about the buyers. When the agents withhold Ophelia's information, the man reveals himself as Ostian Bryant, a duke, leaving them stunned. Realizing his stature, The agents propose mediating a negotiation between him and Ophelia concerning the land. Meanwhile, Ophelia meets with a divorce lawyer, Richard Coates. They then discuss the process for Ophelia's plan to divorce Stein. That's a good decision right there. Better divorce that stinky Stein. Richard advises Ophelia that as the divorce is in process, she should learn to hold her emotions and be patient until the court gives the final judgment. After Ophelia's meeting with Richard, she comes back home and tries to calm herself, recalling Richard's advice. But her patience snaps when she sees Ariel wearing the dress that her late father got for her. Ugh, this girl just seems to never fail us in getting us annoyed. When she confronts them, Stein slyly tells her that since she's not wearing it anymore, she should give it to someone and adds that the dress suits Ariel more. Is that even yours to give? The nerve of this man! Then suddenly, Ophelia nears Stein and curses at him, making him shocked. Totally deserved. As Ophelia walks away from the two, Stein exclaims at Ophelia's unbelievable attitude and apologizes to Ariel about what happened. You're apologizing to the wrong person. The next day, Ariel requests Stein to have wine with Ophelia and try to get on her good side. Stein initially refuses, but Ariel manages to convince him. In the study, Ophelia is sealing a letter when Stein barges in, inviting her for a drink with the wine he brings, but she declines him and tells him to drink by himself. Annoyed, Stein yells at her about how she has strangely changed. Well, she's not blinded by you anymore, dummy. Ophelia shares with him the rumor she just heard, recounting how a count was seen in a royal seat at the opera house, while another woman occupied his wife's seat. Realizing that the rumor is about him, Stein abruptly stops her and storms out of the room. He retreats to his chamber with Ariel, where they seek solace in each other's arms, their voices faintly audible to Ophelia outside the room. Determined to confront the situation, Ophelia summons Jackson and instructs him to gather everyone in the house, arranging a meeting in Stein's room the next morning. At the crack of dawn the next day, Ophelia, accompanied by the servants and Richard, enter Stein's room, catching him and Ariel in bed, covering themselves under a blanket. Enraged by the abrupt intrusion, Stein yells at them to leave, but Ophelia silences him with a revelation. They are getting divorced, and he won't receive a penny from her. Then, she introduces Richard. Way to go, Ophelia! As Ophelia leaves to let Richard handle the divorce process with Stein, she returns to the real estate office where she meets Duke Bryant. After exchanging greetings, they engage in conversation about the lands she acquired. The Duke proposes buying the lands, offering a price 5 times higher than what she paid. But Ophelia stands her ground and firmly refuses to sell. Despite his persistence, she remains resolute in her decision, determined not to part with the lands. Observing Ophelia's unwavering determination, the Duke suggests they talk elsewhere and suddenly takes her hand as they exit the building. OMG, they look so cute! Might I say, the Duke is a cutie too? Brian brings Ophelia into a jewelry shop and a boutique, thinking he can sway Ophelia with such luxurious things. After realizing what the Duke is trying to do to her, Ophelia confronts him that she isn't affected by any of his tactics. Duke, may we remind you that the girl you're talking to is a countess, and she can buy herself any jewelry and dress she wants? But don't worry, we still appreciate your efforts. The Duke pleads for a final opportunity with Ophelia, asking her to accompany him to a special place. Unable to resist his heartfelt appeal, Ophelia allows Brian to lead her to a charming cafe. As they sit down and their orders arrive, Ophelia takes a bite of the dessert. Observing her enjoyment, Brian points it out, and she confirms with a smile that the dessert is indeed delicious. However, she adds that she won't still sell the lands. He thought he was going to get her for a sec there. As Bryant persistently asks about Ophelia's reasons, she skillfully deflects the question, redirecting it back to the Duke and inquiring about his interest in the place. Bryant discloses that it's for an acquaintance of his. Curious, Ophelia expresses her eagerness to meet this person and reconsider the deal. Reluctantly, Brian agrees, promising to communicate her decision to his acquaintance. On her carriage ride home, Ophelia contemplates the unlikely possibility of meeting the prince due to the imperial family's cautious nature. However, upon arriving at her house, her thoughts are interrupted by a furious Stein with Ariel by his side. He confronts Ophelia aggressively, clutching her wrist, while waving the divorce paper and accusing her of losing her mind. "You're the one who's out of your mind, you crazy man!" Just as Ophelia tries to free herself from Stein's grip on her wrist and tries to slap him, Ariel interferes between them, making Ariel get slapped instead. Ophelia apologizes to Ariel, but Stein coldly dismisses her, offering his support to Ariel as they leave. The following day, Richard presents Ophelia with a newspaper article detailing the incident where she slapped Ariel, tarnishing her reputation. Frustrated, Ophelia is comforted by Richard, who emphasizes the importance of public opinion in court matters. He reassures her that despite Stein's potential justifications for his affair, they possess compelling evidence against him. They discuss their next steps in handling the situation. Meanwhile, at the palace, second Prince Chesterford Erasmus finds amusement in Bryant's failure to convince Ophelia about the land. He taunts Bryant for his inability to complete the task successfully. Feeling indignant, Bryant asserts that Erasmus should take matters into his own hands and personally meet with Ophelia to resolve the matter. Ophelia then receives an invitation for tea at the palace from the prince. Her plan is now falling into place. Atta girl. After glamming herself elegantly, Ophelia makes her way to the palace, finding Chester waiting for her in the garden. The prince introduces himself, and Ophelia thanks him for the invitation. They take their seats at a table where tea is served. As they settle in, Chester turns the conversation to the real reason for their meeting, inquiring about Ophelia's interest in seemingly worthless lands. Ophelia candidly reveals her plan to establish an arts-related business there, leaving the prince astonished. He questions if she has a spy in the palace, surprised by her knowledge of the land's potential value. Ophelia then makes an excuse that what she said is just her opinion, to which Chester believes. She doesn't have a spy, but she knew your future plans from her past, our dear handsome prince. Ophelia's business with the prince took longer than she thought, but she ponders that it turned out well, and as she walks exiting the garden, she meets Bryant. Bryant asks her if she'll be going home already, but Ophelia replies that she'll be seeing a physician first. Hearing this, Bryant invites her to his house where he has his physician living there, to which Ophelia happily accepts. Nice offer, Kobe. Oh, sorry. May the Black Mamba's soul rest in peace. Ophelia meets Dr. Bruno at the Duke's estate and consults him about the symptoms that caused her death in her past life, coughing blood and having black spots on her body. Unfortunately, Bruno admits that he hasn't encountered such symptoms before and is unable to diagnose the illness. Feeling disheartened and resigned to a similar fate, Ophelia is about to excuse herself when a young boy, Edgar, interrupts, claiming to know what she's talking about. Intrigued, Ophelia asks Edgar to share his knowledge. He narrates a chilling story about his village, Ghetto, where a nobleman who kidnapped children was found dead, displaying the exact symptoms Ophelia had described. Edgar continues that the people in the village believe it was a shaman's curse that caused the man's death. That's so scary. After Ophelia's session with the physician, Bryant meets her and invites her for dinner. Ophelia and Bryant enjoy their dinner so much that Ophelia thought that it's been so long since she enjoyed a meal so much. She then expresses to Bryant what a perfect dinner they have as they clink their wine glasses. Aww, you're so lovely to look at. Meanwhile, Stein is so angry waiting for Ophelia's return at the house. He is so focused on waiting for Ophelia's arrival that he doesn't even care when Ariel cuts her finger from the vase he knocked off out of frustration. Seeing that Stein didn't give her any attention even though she had hurt herself, Ariel realizes that Stein has changed. Uh-oh. Don't tell us you're starting to care for Ophelia, Stein. It's too late already. The revelation unfolds that in the past, Stein and Ariel had been exchanging letters, where he professed his love for her and vowed to make her a countess. True to his word, after inheriting the title of count following Ophelia's father's death, Stein fetched Ariel from her humble home and brought her to the grand mansion. Ariel was in awe of the opulence and splendor of the mansion, and it was during this time that she laid eyes on Ophelia for the first time, someone she had only known through Stein's letters. But she was surprised when Stein introduced her to Ophelia. The Ophelia she encountered didn't seem to fit the way Stein described her in those letters she received from him, which made her so anxious. Well, the time you met her was also the same timeline she got reincarnated. As Ariel continues to watch Stein waiting for Ophelia, she opens a small container that contains purple powder, and this makes Stein fall unconscious. Does this mean that Ariel is a shaman? Oh no, this is bad. When Ophelia arrives home, Ariel greets her, saying that Stein is already asleep. Then Ariel asks Ophelia if they can talk, to which Ophelia agrees and orders Anna to make preparations for their talk before telling Ariel that she'll see her later. Ariel wants to speak with Ophelia, and the Countess thinks that it is indeed about time that they have a conversation. Ophelia orders the servants to serve them some dessert while they talk. This conversation is bound to be interesting. Ophelia wasted no time and confronted Ariel directly, asking when the affair with her husband began. Ariel skillfully dodged the question, but Ophelia's intuition told her it had been going on for quite some time. Concerned for Ariel's reputation after the divorce, she tried reasoning with her, but it felt like talking to a brick wall. Ariel's unwavering trust in her lover remained steadfast. Right after their awkward conversation, Ariel collapses. Apparently, the lady is allergic to nuts, and it is present in the pecan tart that was served. Is it just me, or does this feel like a wicked scheme? Stein is quick to grab this opportunity to ruin Ophelia's reputation even more. A tabloid is released stating how she tried to murder her husband's mistress. Wow, just when you think he couldn't get any more thick-skinned? She is forced to stay home for a while until the rumor subsides. However, right in the middle of it, Duke Bryant has come to visit her in her estate. OMG, here comes the man we stan. He wants to talk to her about some business matters, so she invites him to go for a walk. She's been wanting to visit a pond, so she brings him there. The adorable Duke Bryant expresses how glad he is that she managed to get an agreement with the second prince. She smiles and asks him if he was concerned for her. The Duke looks away and explains that he knows how much effort she's placed on getting the lands. Ophelia is incredibly amused by his embarrassed expression. Cuteness overload alerts! However, she suddenly falters and is about to fall when he catches her. She becomes dizzy out of nowhere, and the Duke notes how pale she is. She explains that she hasn't been feeling well and is probably because of the divorce trial. He assures her that no matter the outcome, he will support her. Oh, how sweet of him. His words make her feel a lot better. All of a sudden, she catches a glimpse of a woman near the edge of the pond. What surprises her even more is that she suddenly jumps. Duke Bryant's instincts kick in, and without hesitation, he plunges into the pond to rescue the woman. They manage to pull her out of the water, leaving Ophelia in a state of panic for both the woman and the Duke. As they examine her more closely, they are appalled by the numerous bruises covering her body, a clear sign of abuse. Seeking help, they bring her to the nearest house, which happens to belong to a lieutenant. They entrust the woman's care to the household, making the lady of the house promise to keep the incident a secret until the woman wakes up. Though Ophelia recognizes her, the woman's identity remains a mystery to her. Nonetheless, she vows to visit her again the following day and provide support during her recovery. When Ophelia returns, she is startled to find the woman in a state of hysterics, realizing that the woman's suicide attempt was not accidental. Life must have been so hard for her to decide such an ending. As she calls her by name, Ophelia conducts her research and discovers the woman is Viscountess Camilla Martin, a victim of ongoing abuse by her devilish husband. Driven by empathy and a desire to help, Ophelia promises to stand by her side and fight for her well-being. With time, Camilla begins to recover, and Ophelia delivers a heartfelt letter from her parents. Expecting rejection, Camilla is moved to tears as she reads the letter, realizing that her parents still love and care for her deeply. It's a moment of profound emotion as Camilla feels loved and supported, perhaps for the first time in a long while. Ophelia is so enraged by the unfair outcome during the first trial that it favors Stein so much, but she eventually sees that she is rather pleased by it, especially since her cheating husband is finally out of the house. Thank God she's finally free of her leech of a husband. One day, she receives a letter from the second prince about a charity event organized by Baron Curtis. She has decided to participate in order to raise her family's status in society. The Heaven Walkers are back. On the day of the charity event, she is surprised to hear that a supposed companion has arrived, and it is Duke Bryant. Did I mention he is so adorable? Yes, I think I did. Multiple times at that. The second prince has apparently sent his friend to accompany her to the event. Although it comes as a surprise and is probably influenced by the prince, she gladly accepts him as her companion. She needs all the strength she can get, especially since it's the first time she's going out after the divorce. When they see the elusive Duke Ostium Bryant arrive, the people are shocked that he has bothered to attend such an event. However, when the Duke guides her out of the carriage, the crowd's shock increases tenfold. The divorced Countess is sparkling before their eyes. Meanwhile, Ophelia is annoyed that the people keep talking about them. A bunch of people suddenly approach the Duke to talk about something. Although he is reluctant, he has to follow them and leave Ophelia alone for a while. That is when the whispers begin to become brutal. The people around her start talking about her divorce and blaming her for not being a good wife. Not a good wife? Try being Stein's wife. Hearing their cruel gossip enrages her, and for good reason. However, before she can react, a bunch of women step up and defend her. Yes, girl power! They clap back against all the cruel women who have nothing better to do than judge people. Ophelia even manages to find the courage to shut them down by asking them how much they are willing to donate to the actual cause of the event. She has unwittingly become an inspiration to countless women trapped in abusive marriages, who see her as a symbol of strength and hope. Witnessing their admiration for her resilience, she gladly imparts valuable advice to empower them. As she passionately interacts with these women, the Duke finds himself experiencing unexpected emotions, deeply moved by her words and actions. His heart begins beating faster, and his face now resembles a tomato, all from seeing her like that. Oh, someone is falling in love! The charity event proves a resounding success, with her generous donation reaffirming the strength of the Heaven Walkers. It marks a remarkable comeback following the bitter divorce ordeal. As they leave, she expresses gratitude to the Duke for his company, and he apologizes for not acting promptly during their early commotion. He reassures her that he is always ready to help if needed. Inspired by his support, she musters the courage to ask for a favor, the use of his lake to place something special. Clarifying her intentions, she seeks permission to add a carp to the lake. Without hesitation, the Duke readily agrees to her request. To his surprise, the Duke finds out that the Countess intends to give the Queen a gigantic carp, also known as turumatas. Curious about her motive, he learns that the Queen is unwell and the carp is a special gift to help her recover. The dish made from the turumatas is said to improve vigor, particularly after giving birth. As the Emperor receives the unexpected gift, he rushes to feed the dish to the ailing Queen, who hesitantly accepts it. To everyone's astonishment, the moment she tastes the food, her eyes widen in shock. That must have been quite a dish. Accompanied by the nervous Duke Bryant, Ophelia follows the order to visit the palace. Upon her arrival, the king warmly welcomes her, grateful for her thoughtful gesture with the turumatas dish, which deeply touched his ailing wife. Eager to repay her kindness, he insists she let him know if she needs anything. With a bright smile and bashfulness, she declines any rewards, expressing that she acted for the country's sake. Nevertheless, the king remains adamant and presses her to make a request. Ophelia gently asks for the authority to choose the heir to the Heaven Walker's family title, ensuring someone capable takes over in case of unforeseen circumstances. The king is taken aback by her request, considering her young age, but ultimately grants her wish, showering her with additional gifts and trinkets as well. The Duke feels relieved as he sees her exit the royal palace with the gifts from the Emperor, knowing she did it all to restore her family's honor. However, their conversation is interrupted by Dr. Bruno, who has important medical news for her. The doctor shares that the symptoms she described resemble an endemic disease in a remote area, with limited knowledge about it in the medical field. He promises to update her if he learns more. Concerned by her reaction to the severity of the disease, the Duke wonders if she might have contracted it herself due to her evident distress. She denies this, insisting she's only curious, though visibly upset. As she steps into her carriage, she accidentally slips, further adding to the tension in the air. Before she can fall, he catches her from behind, and their position makes the both of them blush. Another one added to our classic swoon moment collection. Duke Bryant is trying his very best to focus on his work. However, intrusive thoughts keep lingering on his mind, aka he's daydreaming about Ophelia. Oh, he really is falling in love. He tries to concentrate, but he realizes that he needs a break. He steps outside to his estate's lake, and still it reminds him of her. Oh, he fell deep. Meanwhile, Ophelia is in a similar situation. Her thoughts are occupied with the Duke as well. She is recalling how embarrassed she was the last time they were together. She even remembers how sturdy he was when he caught her. She even wonders if he works out. Ophelia, behave yourself. Distracted and startled, she jumps when her servants approach. They inform her that the letters she sent to the children she's chosen have been delivered. She has decided to select her successor from among her distant relations. To her dismay, one of the children's letters arrived torn and in poor condition. Worried, she decides to personally investigate the child's situation. Upon arriving at the child's home, she finds a disheveled place filled with wine bottles strewn about. It becomes clear why the letter was torn. Everett, the child, is living with a neglectful parent. The boy's father even denies the presence of a child in his home. Furious, she confronts the man, warning him of the consequences of lying to a noble. She searches the chaotic house and finally discovers Everett hidden inside a closet. How horrible! They discover that the man has locked his son in the closet. What kind of parent would do such a thing? The boy is clearly abused. She takes the boy in her arms, and her heart visibly breaks to see the condition he is in. Our hearts are breaking too. Despite the vile protests from Everett Cotton's father, she stands her ground and lists his crimes, warning him of the consequences. In the end, she successfully gains custody of Everett. Upon bringing Everett home, she instructs her servants to treat him well, but now she wonders if they all will get along and if she can take good care of them. The following day, she introduces Everett and another child, Noah Winter, to their new roles as candidates for her future heir. She hires a tutor for them, discovering that Everett lacks proper education. The two children are very different, with Noah adapting quickly and charming the household, while Everett struggles to keep up with his studies. What's worse is that Noah is bullying him, being mean to him and telling him to give up now. How can a child be so evil? Noah's enthusiasm for learning has won the affection of everyone in the mansion. However, he can't comprehend why Everett, his fellow candidate, persists despite struggling and not getting anything right. Annoyed, he wishes Everett would just leave and go back to where he came from. During a meal with the boys, Noah happily shares his achievements, boasting about receiving 100 marks and taking horse riding lessons. In contrast, Everett quietly eats with them, barely touching his food. Noticing Everett's lack of appetite, Ophelia kindly reminds him to eat, expressing concern for his well-being rather than scolding him. After bidding the boys goodnight to attend to her duties, she feels the urge to drink some wine. Returning to the dining area, she is shocked by what she witnesses through the slightly ajar door. Noah is saying mean things to Everett. He's even jabbing his finger on his head in an antagonizing manner. This kid is such a bully. She is so enraged by his behavior that she slams the door open. She scolds Noah for doing those things to Everett. Deserved. Her anger intensifies as she realizes that Everett may have been mistreated by Noah all along. In a fit of rage, a teacup accidentally drops and wounds Noah, leaving her feeling incredibly guilty for the situation. Struggling to cope with the responsibility of caring for the children, especially given her lack of experience, she feels overwhelmed with guilt and self-blame. Then, a sudden realization dawns upon her. She knows someone who can provide guidance and help. Duke Bryant. The Duke is shocked to receive such an unusual letter. The Countess Heavenwalker had written to him about her fostering two boys to be her possible heir. She is asking for his help in the matter and asks to meet him. That is how they end up meeting in a toy shop. Is this co-parenting? I'm probably getting ahead of myself. I don't think so. Initially, the Countess believes introducing a game might ease the tension between Noah and Everett, but Duke Ostian clarifies that at 15, they would prefer to be treated as adults. The Duke questions whether she discussed the sponsorship matter seriously with the children, and she explains she did on their first day together. Duke Ostian points out that their uncertainty about the future has fueled their anxiety and made them see each other as competitors. Wow, he is such an expert with this. He would be such a great daddy. To help the situation, the Duke suggests he can take care of the boys for a week, believing he can positively influence them in that time. The Countess agrees, and the boys stay at the Duke's place. Noah struggles with a different teaching style, and seeing Everett getting along with the Duke only intensifies his feeling of loss. In his temporary room, Noah feels defeated and surprised when Everett arrives with cake, noticing that he barely ate earlier. Noah, in his frustration, asks Everett why he doesn't speak to him. A week later, the Countess anxiously awaits the arrival of the two boys, hopeful that the Duke's intervention has made a positive impact. To her pleasant surprise, the moment she sees both of them, a clear change is evident. As they arrive at the Duke, she witnesses an astonishing sight. Noah and Everett are holding hands, a sign of newfound friendship and camaraderie. That was inconceivable in the past, not with the undeniable tension between them. The Duke has magical powers. Overwhelmed with joy at witnessing Noah and Everett finally getting along, the Countess can't contain her amazement at the Duke's ability to achieve such a feat. When she asks how he managed it, he explains that children often change quickly in a different environment. It turns out that the turning point was a confrontation between the boys at the Duke's house. Everett finally opened up to Noah about the reasons he couldn't go back to his old life. He feared returning to his father, who would likely beat him. Hearing about Everett's unfortunate circumstances fills Noah with immense guilt. He realizes he had treated Everett poorly despite all the hardships the boy had endured. Filled with remorse, Noah apologizes to Everett for his past behavior. "Aw, we take it back. He's not evil at all." With the Duke's intervention, Noah experiences what Everett endured in the Duke's house, leading to a deeper understanding between the two boys. The Countess is immensely grateful for the positive change the Duke brought into their lives. Later, the boys proudly present Ophelia with a wreath Everett made for her, and she happily wears it. They stand together in the garden, basking in their newfound happiness. Meanwhile, Stein, filled with anger, grips the gate tightly in his fury. He sees how happy Ophelia finally is, and he is enraged that she might have found a new man already. As she should. The fallen ex-count walks through his new neighborhood, muttering angrily to himself, grinding his teeth in frustration. Upon arriving home, Ariel greets him with her usual bright smile, but now he looks at her with disdain instead of affection. Seated, he coldly demands that she fetch him a drink. He is so angry at the thought that Ophelia has found someone else. Serves you right, you're downright nasty. He even blames Ariel now for his misfortunes. When Ariel approaches him to go to bed together, this despicable man forces himself on her. Ugh, awful! Meanwhile, Ophelia has just received a rare invitation from Marquess Harmon for a garden party. Both the Marquess and Marchioness are rumored to be dignified people. Ophelia is just wondering how things would be, especially since the lady of that house is Duke Bryant's sister. At the garden party, Ophelia and the Duke have easily found each other. He tells her that he should have escorted her there if he was aware that she was attending. Later on, they are interrupted when his sister approaches them together with her husband. Grace, the Marchioness and Ostian's sister, asks to spend some time with her. During their talk, Ophelia realizes that Grace assumes that she and her brother are in a relationship. OMG, even his own sister recognizes that something is going on. She denies that they are in love and tries to explain the nature of the relationship. Don't deny it, girl. We already know what's truly going on. However, they are interrupted by the arrival of Stein, who is causing a disruption in the party. Ugh, party pooper in the house. Stein is causing so much ruckus in the party that Ophelia is horrified. He is demanding to speak to her. She is about to approach him, but a pair of hands grabs her shoulders. The Duke is assuring her that she is not alone. OMG, this is not the time to swoon, but we just can't help it. So OMG. Before things can escalate, Ophelia bravely declares that she can deal with him. She apologizes to the Marchioness for causing so much trouble, and she tells her to be careful. She goes near the ex-count to speak to him. Stein begins accusing her of having another man all this time. He implies that she was in a relationship with the Duke long before the divorce and had used Ariel as an excuse to end things between them. God, the audacity again of this man! Seeing Stein like this makes Ophelia realize that he has lost his mind. He is talking nonsense. Amidst his rant, the Duke finally speaks. He reminds him of his place by reminding him that he is a Duke. He berates him for his attitude and how he is treating Ophelia. Go best boy Duke Bryant! Ophelia notices the tension between the two and she decides to put an end to it. She tells Stein that she is not his wife anymore. What she does is none of his business. Burn. Ignoring Stein's enraged outburst, Ophelia and Ostian turn their backs on him. His dismissal only fuels his anger, and he resorts to shouting her name and using nasty language. Afterward, the Duke takes Ophelia to a quiet spot to calm her down. He reassures her that she should inform him if such an incident happens again, and encourages her to ask for his help whenever needed. Hearing how much he cares for her makes her heart thump in an unusual rhythm. Oh, how beautiful love is. However, an unfortunate thing is happening to Ophelia's foster children. They are riding in a carriage driven by Stein. What is this horrible person planning? Stein wakes up from falling asleep on the road after the incident. The place seems familiar, and when he sees Jackson talking to a driver, he finds out that there are 2 kids who will become Ophelia's successors. Then, an evil idea comes to mind. He steals the carriage where the boys are in, justifying his action as a form of self-defense from what Ophelia started. What kind of mindset this guy has? Shortly after, Stein drops off the 2 boys to an unknown place, telling them to come back before the sun goes down with an evil grin on his face. Goodness, I thought he was going to harm the kids. The boys have no choice but to walk. However, they aren't familiar with the place, and so they somehow get lost. After hours of walking, Noah complains that he needs to eat a lot of rice to grow faster, but Everett gets confused if Noah's a human or a pig. They really get along well by teasing each other, huh? Everett realizes that Ophelia will be so worried, so he supports Noah to stand as they continue to walk home. As the 2 keep teasing each other, they haven't noticed that there's a large hole in the ground, but it's too late for them to retreat. Oh no, I take back my words. They are in danger. Back at the mansion, Ophelia is already panicking about the boys, and so she orders her servants to contact the search party, including Bryant. She remembers when he tells her that she shouldn't worry alone because if it's her, he will surely come to help. Hurry up, Ophelia! In the workshop where the boys have been training, Bryant finds Ophelia crying while holding a notebook, blaming herself for what has happened to her children. No, poor Ophelia. Ophelia easily recognizes Stein's handwriting in the list of carriage rentals. Duke Bryant scolds the workshop gatekeeper for not verifying visitors before allowing them to sign. The gatekeeper recalls a strange incident yesterday, with the driver having trouble parking and driving recklessly. Duke Bryant decides to search for any witnesses to validate Stein's presence. As Ophelia observes the Duke's determination, she realizes he's once again taking important action on her behalf, despite his tired eyes. With a serious look on his face, Bryant assures her that the children are also precious to him, so he will contact her as soon as he finds them. Can we take a moment to appreciate Bryant's kindness? He's such a daddy figure. Please, be our daddy. Just kidding. Not really. After hours of waiting, the boys arrive in the mansion safely with Bryant. They were found in a wild boar trap where wild animals often appear. Luckily, they weren't harmed. Tears of joy and relief are painted on Ophelia's face as she embraces the boys around her arms. Ophelia apologizes for thanking him late for what he has done for her children. Bryant doesn't mind at all, but the children remember the man in detail. All descriptions pointing at Stein. He's totally a psychopath. The next day, Ophelia urgently knocks on Stein's door. To her surprise, Ariel opens it instead. She demands to see Stein, and when he finally appears, a wicked grin on his face infuriates her even more. Ophelia accuses him of harming innocent children and presents evidence of his kidnapping. However, Stein dismisses her, claiming it was all just a joke. Ophelia keeps yelling at him, but he just smirks and points out how she flirts with a man recklessly. Bro, you really need a therapist. Ophelia is fuming with anger, trembling at his words. Both of them still keep yelling at each other, but Ophelia puts on a beaming smile with deep, piercing eyes, telling him that she won't let it slide, so he must be prepared for what's coming. You angered the head of the Heavenwalker family, so good luck to you, Stein. In the carriage, Ophelia expresses her gratitude to Bryant for accompanying her that day. Bryant admits that he's glad she turned to him for help with her problems rather than seeking someone else's aid. He expresses his desire to remain her pillar of strength, just as he has always been. Ophelia is hesitating to accept it, but he reassures her not to be shy about what he can give. Now, that's the next count of Heavenwalker right there. After a while, her lawyer asks how much punishment she wants for maliciously harming the Heavenwalker family. Ophelia is determined to make him pay the price for touching her children. Her lawyer puts on a shallow smile and agrees to it. He is no normal lawyer, and I bet he enjoys taking cases like this. At the second divorce trial, Stein's side doesn't have any objection to his involvement in the children's disappearance, so the judge concludes it right away. Even part of the alimony that was initially set is being returned to Ophelia, including the business and indemnity. In short, it's a neat victory for Ophelia. However, Stein still refuses to surrender, and the case will continue to the third final trial. In his house, Stein doesn't have enough money to hire another lawyer. Ariel is trying to calm him down, but he pushes her away, blaming her for being penniless like a parasite stuck inside the house every day. I feel bad for her, but she deserves what she tolerates. When he walks away, Ariel decides to do anything for him. She goes out late in the afternoon, but then a drunkard is trying to harass her. Shortly after, 2 kids are screaming in horror, seeing a dead body of a man lying on the ground with crows flying everywhere. Could it be Ariel's doings? In the slums, another nobleman's lifeless body is discovered, prompting Dr. Bruno to initiate an investigation. The corpse exhibits peculiar characteristics, familiar to Ophelia, and he rushes to inform her. Meanwhile, Ophelia and Bryant explore an arts exhibition, seeking artists for their project. Ophelia suggests recruiting a renowned man named Avid Torso, who she knows for his future fame. Wanting to repay Bryant's kindness, she volunteers to handle the artist recruitment, aware of his heavy workload. Their conversation is interrupted by Dr. Bruno, who urgently summons them both. The recent death toll in the slums prompts the Medical Association to request an investigation. Ophelia realizes the doctor's request is closely linked to the recent evidence, but with some exceptions. She never hears of a noble death. Is it just a coincidence? It may have been concealed by the imperial family to prevent people from panicking, but one thing's for sure, it's different from the past. That being said, there have been many changes since her divorce from Stein. She is thinking that maybe there is a cure to her illness. Will fate be different now that she no longer pretends to be blind? At the exhibit, a man with long hair fixates on a particular artwork for several minutes. Ophelia introduces herself and spots paint on his sleeves, assuming it's his creation. She offers her business card, inviting him to support young artists through the foundation. As they walk away, Ophelia notices Bryant's silence and tries to address his withdrawn demeanor. He brushes off her concerns, claiming he's simply feeling narrow-minded. Then, Ophelia asks him if he's jealous because she talks to someone she's seeing for the first time. OMG, Ophelia, don't point it out! You'll embarrass the man! Bryant continues to ignore her throughout the day, causing Ophelia to lose interest in the exhibition's artwork. However, when he drops her off, she can't help but find him cute. Her thoughts are interrupted by her servant's call, informing her that 2 people have come to see her. To her dismay, they turn out to be illegal lenders demanding the money Stein borrowed from them. They even threaten to do something with Stein if she wouldn't pay his debt. However, she doesn't care if they were once a couple because she's already divorced. And the reason they came to her is because she is a woman whom they think would be easily swayed by love. Oops, sorry to disappoint you guys, but Ophelia is a strong, independent woman. When she goes back inside the mansion, her servant praises her bravery, but out of the blue, she collapses on the floor. Outside her room, Dr. Bruno discusses with Bryant how the number of deaths with similar symptoms has drastically increased. He notices that Ophelia appears to have prepared for such a situation in advance, even training a successor. However, Bryant finds it hard to believe Dr. Bruno's claim that it's not a disease but rather a result of black magic. The doctor's information seems unreliable, and he never expected him to entertain such beliefs. Us either. However, the timing of the rumors that a new shaman has appeared and the strange body that's found in the capital seems suspicious. Before Dr. Bruno can elaborate further, Bryant interrupts him and resolves to uncover the truth on his own. In the slums, Bryant undergoes a transformation, confronting and beating up scammers seeking rewards. As he navigates the area, he comes across a man carrying a corpse wrapped in white cloth. Initially thinking nothing of it, he becomes alarmed when he notices black spots on the feet of the deceased. And so, Bryant threatens the man with a knife on his neck to guide him in finding the shaman. Oh, I wouldn't mind getting threatened by this hottie. As soon as they get there, he barges in and asks the man if he knows anything about Ophelia. However, he seems to be having fun beating around the bush, and so Bryant grabs his hair and asks the same question again. Whoa! Calm down, handsome. The man informs Bryant that the person he's searching for has already fled through a side door. Frustrated with himself for overlooking the culprit while dealing with the shaman, Bryant decides not to waste any more time. He becomes determined to extract information from the man by any means necessary. At the back of the alley, a man who seems like the boss of little thugs ties up Stein, waiting for his parents to pay the debt he owes them. However, it seems like his parents are pretending not to know that their son is being held captive. Poor Stein, now suffering the consequences of his actions. He is crying in agony when he hears that she didn't take the bait when they threatened to kill him. For him, it's hard to believe that all those years they lived together, Ophelia was turning away from him. Well, what did you expect? Aware of the impending danger, Stein flees the inn, knowing that staying any longer could mean his doom. Back in the mansion, Ophelia finally wakes up after being unconscious for 5 days. She steps out onto the balcony to feel the air on her skin, only to sense a familiar cold engulfing her surroundings, similar to before. Oh no. Stein stands outside the gate, seething with anger as he watches Ophelia seemingly at peace, while his own life descends into misery. Tempted to throw a rock at her, he hesitates when he overhears Dr. Bruno speaking with Bryant, who has just arrived. Soon after, Ophelia emerges from the bathroom looking refreshed, but she spots Bryant waiting by the balcony door. She calls out to him, but he appears hurried, urging her to accompany him to Dr. Bruno. Ophelia greets Bryant with a warm smile, hoping that he's doing well in case he's worried. He just laughs half-heartedly with gloomy eyes while looking at her. No, it must really hurt seeing her dying. During dinner, Bryant allows Ophelia to eat first before discussing business. Ophelia finds it hard to believe the existence of a shaman and that she died in her previous life due to a curse. She contemplates if it's improving because of Bryant, but his disappointed expression reveals that the arrest attempt failed due to his own mistake. How caring and loving this man clearly is. Knowing that magic is never done accidentally, Ophelia realizes something. The only person with a connection between her past and present and a motive to curse her is Lady Ariel. Reluctantly, she concludes that she has no choice but to confront Ariel and get involved with her. Yes, she has to be stopped. After a few hours feeling frustrated, Ophelia wakes up and seeks solace outside in the garden. While enjoying the cold breeze, Anna suddenly collapses to the ground. Stein appears and warns Ophelia not to call for help. He blames her for the misery in his life and claims he cannot make her happy. What? Make happy who? He takes a step closer and smashes the rock on her head. Oh no, he really did it this time. Ophelia regains consciousness in a storage room, her head spinning, and finds Stein standing before her. She deduces that only a few people are aware of this area, making it an ideal place for a kidnapping. Stein continues blaming her and assumes she shouldn't be surprised by the sudden abduction. Ophelia retorts, demanding to know what she did wrong. Stein keeps shouting about how much she changed. Says a man who cheated on her for a couple of years already. Being obedient, Ophelia remained silent about her feelings when Stein brought another woman home. He knew her as a blind, kind woman who tolerated his affairs with Ariel. Finally, Ophelia snaps out of her anger, questioning his irresponsible actions of marrying her only to ruin her life. Stein fails to comprehend her words and responds by pulling her hair. In defiance, she grabs his hand, declaring that he doesn't deserve to be loved. That's right, don't back down. Stein screams in anger, intent on hurting Ophelia, but suddenly the door bangs. The debtors arrive, causing him to panic at the sight of Ophelia unconscious on the ground. One of the thugs recognizes her and their boss checks on her. Seizing an opportunity to escape, Stein faces a gun pointed at his head. When he turns around, he sees Bryant, who commands the soldiers to apprehend them all. OMG, here comes the hero, our knight in shining handsomeness. He runs up to carry her unconscious body, leading her home, though she's already home. Ophelia opens her eyes to the tearful faces of her children and servant Anna. Anna recounts everything that has occurred since the kidnapping incident. Stein faced charges of kidnapping and attempted murder, rendering the divorce trial irrelevant. The court branded him a sinner and sentenced him to the Marshall region in the empire's northernmost part. He would spend the rest of his life serving in a monastery. However, would living such a life there be better than imposing the death penalty to pay for his crimes? As for Ariel, she did not rebel when the authorities arrested her, but it is said that she stood there until she could not see the wagon where Stein was being transferred. Look where love has brought you both, Ariel. Evening comes and she waits for the Duke in the garden. When she turns around, Bryant suddenly wraps her around his sturdy arms, saying that he thought he was going to die from waiting. Ugh, would die to get these hands around me. Whew. Okay, let's behave. Ophelia expresses gratitude for Bryant's efforts to protect her. She discovers that her hairpin, a gift from Stein during their dating days, was used as a medium for witchcraft. Now that Ariel is arrested, Ophelia is unconcerned about it, but requests a favor from Bryant to meet her once. In the Imperial Palace dungeon, Ophelia recalls the tea party where Ariel had immense trust in Stein, leading her to face whatever consequences were to come. But does she still have that trust despite being shoved away by the only man she ever loved? And so, she asks her if there were any other options besides Stein, would she have made the same choice she's in now? After a long pause, Ariel admits that she has no regrets, nor being sorry for trying to hurt Ophelia. But her eyes look so weary and sad. She claims that she's just trying to protect her world, and that she isn't that greedy to dream about reaching the Countess position. He is the only one she really wants to get. It seems like Ariel is the one who's blind in this story. With one last look at her face, Ariel wonders if there is something precious to her other than Stein. What kind of ending would it have been? Indeed, she has a frightening, tenacious, and pure heart. It's only a pity that she ended up embracing the wrong person to love. 2 days later, Ariel commits suicide in the dungeon. Too much love can really kill. A few days later in the Imperial Palace, the prince playfully teases Bryant and Ophelia about their endearment, noting the societal norms in aristocratic circles. Ophelia can't stop thinking about Bryant's name, Ostion, which she accidentally blurts out when he calls her attention. Embarrassed, Bryant's face turns red, and he reciprocates by calling her Ophelia. Feeling flustered, Ophelia quickly enters the wagon. Soon after, Bryant's sister enters and begins discussing her brother. She reveals an untold story about his long-standing struggle with the former Duchess, a tale of his mother seeking revenge for a lack of affection. A man named Xavier Hill is asking to see Ophelia to discuss something. His appearance has changed so much that she barely recognizes him. At the age of 18, he was a master painter, the famous painter Avid Torso. Suddenly, he kneels down and asks for Ophelia's help, but she reminds him about the sponsorship when she gave him the business card last time. He has an older brother who is really sickly, and so he drew pictures and sold them to make money, but he quit his job because he can't afford the cost of medicines with the lowered prices of his artworks. Without hesitation, Ophelia announces her support in his debut as a full-fledged painter. However, she wants to make one thing clear, asking if he wants revenge. Revenge? What? To whom? Later that day, Ophelia has sealed a contract with Avid. Bryant still can't figure out what she's thinking. Well, it's more like a gamble she has there, Bryant. Then, the two have a toast to cheer each other despite the heavy schedule of work ahead. Shortly after, Bryant notices cream on her cheeks. He leans over and presses his lips on hers. Wait, what? I thought it was just about the cream. The imperial family issued a decree to clean up the capital slums, with Prince Chester covertly orchestrating it for the Arts Center. Ophelia was assigned the role of managing the artists, while Bryant served as the on-site supervisor. One day, Ophelia notices La Pavelle White's name on the hold list. La Pavelle is renowned as one of the most talented female singers, leaving Ophelia puzzled about why she's on the list. To find answers, Ophelia attends an opera house performance, still questioning why such a popular singer would be on the list. As she listens to people talking, they discuss how La Pavelle has gained weight, leading to a significant decrease in her shows. Furthermore, mistakes have become more frequent and her pitch is now unstable. Ugh, body shaming, huh? The performance is about to start, but there aren't many people watching it. At first, it's just so good to the ears, but then her emotions are fading and the climax isn't that good. When the last song ends, she runs away without even saying goodbye to the audience. It must have been hard with all those discriminating eyes on her. Ophelia follows La Pavelle to the waiting room, but can't enter as La Pavelle is crying loudly. Instead, she leaves a note. Shortly after, La Pavelle enters the break room where Ophelia waits. La Pavelle confides her secret of gaining weight just by drinking water. She explains that receiving a dessert gift led her to fall in love with eating gourmet foods, causing significant weight gain and triggering stage fright due to people's laughter. Ophelia empathizes with Le Pavel's story, recalling her own experiences while dating Stein. Determined to help her, she resolves to offer support. Le Pavel was originally a bright and positive person, but after she gained weight, her self-esteem was low and eventually became ill with extreme phobia. Ophelia wants her friend to stand on stage as proudly as before, so she helps her in picking gorgeous clothes first. But she runs away, fearing that Madame Kate will get mad if she tears the clothes. No, Lay, you are as perfect as you are. So after that, they head to Golden Sugar to enjoy dessert since Lay likes gourmet foods, but she trembles with anxiety while eating. She keeps thinking, what if the staff will feel bad if she orders more and if she looks ravenous while eating? Her self-esteem is declining day by day. However, after a year, she will also meet her fateful mate and become happy. If Ophelia intervenes, she might ruin an important relationship in the future. But if she hadn't known such, of course, she would gladly help. That same day, Ophelia brings her to Opeana Vocal Academy, where Lay spent 4 years in training. Lay looks so happy showing Ophelia around and even tells her of the rumored ghost statue. Evidently, she enjoys goofing around so much that someone approaches them and asks for her presence in the principal's office. Turns out, the principal was Lay's instructor way back. She knows that things are bad, but still, she won't scold her because Lay proved herself enough for the past years as a great singer. That time, her instructor encourages her to have more confidence in herself. That's right, Lay! We are rooting for you! A few weeks later, Le Pavel proves herself once more. She chose to stand on that stage and sing with her heart. The moment the song starts, the atmosphere changes in an instant, sending goosebumps all over Ophelia's body. She immediately understood why it was called a voice from God. Meanwhile, in the capital slum, Bryant takes control over a group of arrogant squatters. Inez Districts 13 and 14, the Gray Zone, a hotbed of crime, is a residential area where the poor live. The purpose of this cleaning is to establish the art center, but the people protested, so there's hardly any progress at all. That's why Bryant takes control of a powerful group that incited the poor and led to the burning of Tang. The group must be disbanded, and the only way to divide them is alienation. The next day, Bryant goes to where the poor people are and confronts them. It is undeniable that the poor are in an unfortunate condition to move out, but Bryant doesn't even hesitate to call them pigs. A bit harsh, Bryant. And so, more people criticize him for being heartless. Truth be told, the poor people have been illegally occupying the land for a long time without paying their taxes. But what can a noble know when he's been provided with everything since birth? Still, the land must be used for the sake of the people within the empire, and to do that, Bryant offers them a chance to rebuild the area. Temporary shelters and meals will be provided to those who have nowhere to go, and wages will be paid in return for their labor. However, the commoners are still showing hostility to the nobility. But Bryant already organized a vigilante group to protect himself. Yesterday's enemy is today's friend. Those who moved only with the logic of power became an organization to protect the poor from unreasonable external pressure. The head of the agitators can't believe that they've been betrayed, so he plunges his knife towards the Duke. Meanwhile, Ophelia suddenly drops her teacup. She has a bad feeling about it. Just then, the servant informs her that Duke Bryant was attacked in the slums. Ophelia frantically runs towards where Bryant is, embracing him as she cries on his chest. Luckily, he isn't hurt bad. She literally came all the way there just because he was injured. She's such wife material. And also, can't you see that you're in love, Ophelia? And of course, Bryant tries to tease her because of that. Ophelia then decides to detach herself, but Bryant grabs her hand and tells her that she still has to take care of him. Duh! We all know it's just a way to spend your time with her. And so Bryant shows her around the mansion. They first stumble upon a room where Bryant used to stay when he was younger. In there, Ophelia notices a picture frame of the Ostian family. She can feel the coldness in the portrait, so she asks about it. Bryant's father was always a busy man who didn't take care of the family. His mother loved such a father, though it was just an unrequited love. As time passed, the relationship did not change. Until the very end, his mother only had her eyes on her husband, not even sparing a single glance at Bryant nor at Grace. 2 years before his mother died, he took over the title of Duke. Since his parents always spent winter at the state, that year, his father went home without him. A servant who went with him later told him that his mother slipped her foot down the stairs and died, and all his father said was just, That's it. Wait, this is kinda sus. Don't you guys think so? His mother passed away without him feeling anything, or maybe it was because he didn't love his mother. I think it's also because he doesn't know what love really is. Poor Bryant. After that, his father went to the state and didn't see him again in years. Realizing that it must have been hard on Bryant's part growing up without knowing what a mother's love is, she suddenly hugs and assures him that she will always be there. She wants him to stop hurting at that lack of love. Aww, they make such a great couple. They even support each other this much. Days later, Brian's wound is now better, which means that Ophelia must go back because he will report on duty as the supervisor of the project. The doctor leaves to give them time to say goodbye to each other, and yes, our lovely Duke and Countess didn't fail to make the most of it. He presses his lips against hers, but then Hubert comes in to deliver bad news. Madam Kate is in trouble. Someone has written an article claiming that she has been copying a foreign designer's pattern. Ophelia finds her on the floor of her boutique, utterly distraught by the situation. She swears that she is innocent. However, reporters are already swarming the shop. She despairs that she might have to close the shop and waste the support the Countess has placed on her. Ophelia is quick to demand that she pull herself together because she believes in her. While she embraces the poor woman, Ophelia is seething just thinking about the person who wrote the horrible article. She then firmly tells Kate to be strong and to not close the shop. She tells the designer to continue to make the dresses she wants, and she'll take care of the publicity issue. Later on, Ophelia is frustrated just thinking about the right thing to do. Bryant comments that the article was indeed crafty work. Hubert, Bryant's trusty assistant, then begins talking about the author of the malicious article, a woman called Nora. Apparently, that woman is notorious for writing scandalous rumors about people who often ruin their lives. She may even be responsible for the rumors about Ophelia herself. This infuriates Ophelia even more, for a Heavenwalker never forgets a grudge. Oh, she's about to show her devious side for sure. Watch out, whoever wrote that article. Smiling sweetly at the other two, she says that she needs an informant to go abroad to visit the foreign designer. While Kate diverts her attention to making dresses, Ophelia continues her mission by paying the other women who were victims of false accusations a visit. Both are young designers who were forced to give up on their dreams because their reputations were tarnished by vile articles. The two are pretty inflamed by the recollection. Ophelia even learns that soon after they were out of business, someone else began copying their designs. It is possible that another designer was bribing Nora to write those articles. Ophelia continues her investigation by asking the two ladies if they know where the reporter is working now. However, they know nothing, causing Ophelia to conclude that Nora had joined a different fashion magazine. She is then questioned why she's even bothering with this issue. The Countess answers that she is doing this for Madam Kate. Suddenly, the ladies open up the topic regarding another prominent designer, Madame Suzette. The two disclose to her how strange it is that Madame Suzette is not meddling with someone as talented as Madam Kate. Apparently, Madame Suzette is quite narcissistic. This prompts Ophelia to visit Madame Suzette's boutique to learn more about her. She observes how lavish everything is and how many people are there even though it's still morning. An attendant approaches her, offering to guide her. Ophelia, on the get-go, already feels unease despite the lady's politeness, only to learn later that the attendants are actually there to observe the customers. She intentionally drops a cup of tea, but the attendants are intentionally ignoring her, expecting that she'll walk out on her own. Well, two can play this game. She'll show them how obnoxious she can be. She begins berating them for their poor customer service and questioning their reputation. At that moment, Madame Suzette emerges from a set of stairs, welcoming her and inviting her inside. Ugh, how pretentious! I don't like it immediately, and I hardly even know her. When they are inside her office, she begins apologizing for her staff, claiming that they are just not ready to entertain a countess. To Ophelia's surprise, Suzette begins talking about Kate unprompted, saying how sorry she is for what happened to her. She even has the audacity to claim that Madame Kate was adored even though she lacks talent. Enraged, Ophelia is quick to contradict her words. Suzette continues on by saying that rumors have a lasting impression and mentions that the Countess is probably also affected by all of these. Without even letting Ophelia speak properly, she boldly tells the Countess that she'll escort her out since she barely cares for her design anyway. When she steps out of the boutique, Ophelia is even more determined to bring Madame Suzette down. There is a party, and the guests are clearly having a wonderful time. One of them notes who is sitting right next to Madame Suzette, a noble lady who is far richer than any of them combined. Apparently, the young lady is Madame Suzette's VIP, who always buys all of her dresses. Another guest then asks Suzette about Countess Heavenwalker's visit. Quite instantly, the topic shifts to Madame Kate due to their friendship. Despite the lady's malicious tone about her downfall, they still voice out her popularity and her apparent great connections. This infuriates Suzette, for she clearly wants the spotlight to shine on her alone. She's even more annoyed that Ophelia still believes in Kate, even though she's on the brink of ruin. While she is seething, a person suddenly arrives, apologizing for her tardiness. It's Nora. Is this a gathering of villains? Because it certainly looks like it. It turns out that she and Suzette have been working together, and she's the one responsible for taking care of Suzette's problems, aka rivals in the fashion industry. Madame Suzette plays dirty. I'd like to see her get a taste of her own medicine. Noticing how Suzette barely acknowledges her, Nora assumes that Suzette is not impressed by the article she has written. She decides to write another one to make up for this. This time, she'll ensure that Kate will be gone for good. Meanwhile, with the close sign hanging on the door of her boutique, Kate is giving her all to the dress she is currently designing. This is the dress that Countess Heavenwalker has ordered, and it is finally done. Tears well up from her eyes as she thinks about how grateful she is to Ophelia for believing in her. She swears that she trusts the Countess just as much as the Countess trusts her. Sometime later, Hubert comes barging into the room to inform Ophelia and Bryant that he has found the original pattern. However, to her dismay, the one he has brought are yet to be assembled, so they have to work together in order to do so. And after a few hours, they discover that this pattern is completely different from Kate's. Hubert also reveals that the letter from the foreign designer has arrived as well. Ophelia is aggravated that he is only revealing this now, hastily snatching the letter from him. Upon reading its content, Ophelia decides against publishing it instantly. With a smile that promotes retribution, she swears that those people will see just how crafty they can be. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. She is about to serve. Nora is walking in an alleyway when she feels someone following her. She is determined to hurry home, but then someone tugs on her clothes. She turns around and the person instantly asks her if she is the reporter who wrote articles about Madame Kate. When she doesn't respond, the person hands her a letter asking her to release it to the public as soon as possible. When she reads it, Nora is shocked to realize that it's from the original owner of the pattern, and the person is agreeing that Kate has indeed stolen her design, threatening to take legal action against her. After thinking about the risk, she realizes that this letter will give credibility to her article, snubbing Kate completely. She agrees to publish it, and she is grinning as she walks away. Unbeknownst to her, that person actually received payment from our trusty Hubert for a job well done. She has successfully delivered the message, ensuring that Nora falls right into their trap. The following day, the article that Nora has written is not received the way she was expecting. Rather than proving her previous articles, it discredits them because one of the largest newspapers has published an article with the same issue, only they managed to include the entire content of the letter. The foreign designer does not actually believe that she's been copied. Rather, she is going to sue the person who published such slanders and harm a fellow designer. The newspaper also revealed the list of people whose lives were ruined because of Nora's false malicious articles. Nora is not only cancelled, but she is also arrested for her crimes. Ha! Karma works in mysterious ways indeed. Serves her right. The result of her schemes has caused Ophelia to laugh to her heart's content, with Bryant smiling fondly in the background. She compliments Hubert for a job well done. She states that once the investigation is underway, they'll be able to find the one who is pulling the strings all along. She tells Bryant that they are about to deliver the final blow. That person, Suzette, better prepare herself for what's to come. Somewhere during that time, Suzette is lounging on the bed as she reads through the newspaper. She calls Nora useless. She needs to act fast to save her reputation. She can't let Kate be the center of attention. She suddenly remembers the VIP client who's hosting a launching event. She decided to take advantage of her influence to save her prestige. Grr, this type of people is the worst! During the launching event of Suzette's VIP client, the young lady is amazed to see how everyone is wearing Suzette's dresses. She expresses how honored she is that Madame Suzette has sponsored her event like this. After applauding her for her generosity, She made Suzette say a few words to the people. Suzette boastfully claims that not everyone can wear her dresses except the people who were chosen by her. She is such a pretentious person. Her insincerity is so palpable. While everyone is mingling, the arrival of someone catches the attention of everyone. Countess Heavenwalker, escorted by Duke Bryant, has graced them with their presence. The people are taken aback by the stunning dress that Ophelia is wearing. Talk about a showstopper. She is now the center of attention as everyone is discussing how unique, simple, and comfortable the dress she is wearing is. To add salt to the injury, the guest begins comparing her dress to the design of Madame Suzette, admitting that her designs are suffocating due to the corset. As expected, Madame Suzette is far from happy because of the situation. Even her VIP client is amazed by the dress Ophelia is wearing. When she catches sight of Suzette, Ophelia smirks deviously, showing off Madame Kate's true potential. A few hours ago, Ophelia found a trembling Kate on the floor. She rushed to help her, demanding to know what happened. Rather than answer, Kate thanked her for believing in her and claimed that she wants to live up to her expectations. Kate then revealed the fruits of her labor, and Ophelia was struck by how gorgeous it was. I want to wear such a magnificent dress too! At present, Suzette is beyond anger at this point, shaking with indignation. She has assumed that she will be the center of attention only to have the spotlight stolen from her. How pathetic! That's what you get for being greedy, and karma is not done yet. A few days later, Nora began revealing the designers who hired her to write accusatory articles. Consequently, a handful of boutiques are shut down, including Madame Suzette. When the truth that Madame Suzette has been behind Nora's malicious article, Catherine Pulvia, the rich VIP client of Madame Suzette, has turned into Kate's newest diehard fan. This means that Madame Kate has everyone's attention now, improving her business tenfold. However, Ophelia notices that Catherine has been following her constantly. The young girl will observe and mimic her behavior. It's a good thing that the girl is cute, so she'll let her do what she wants for now. While they're having tea, Ophelia is surprised when two men approach Catherine, and it is obvious that their intention is far from innocent. They begin flirting with her even though she is clearly so young. One of them even touches her hand. Bunch of predators! Leave the poor girl alone! Ophelia is about to step in and put a stop to this atrocious display. However, another voice beats her to it. It's Lady Camilla Chandler, and she is there to defend the young girl's honor. You go, girl. The two men are annoyed, wanting her to stop interfering. Good thing Lady Chandler is relentless, asking Catherine if she has allowed these men to come near her and even touch her. The young girl replies that she did not, and Lady Chandler continues to berate them for it. When Ophelia finally interferes, her voice alone makes the men freeze. With her hostile tone and her devilish grin, she warns them of Baron Pulvia's anger if he ever sees their scheme. With that, the two scramble away with fear. Once that's done, Camilla finally addresses her surprise after not seeing Ophelia for so long. Once they settle down in order to catch up, Camilla recalls how she is able to clear things with her parents and how she divorced Viscount Martin. Good for you, girl! That man is bad news through and through! Camilla, with her face bright with a blush, then expresses her sincerest gratitude to Ophelia because she is alive because of her. Ophelia smiles pleasantly and tells her that she only did what she had to do. Ophelia remembers how Camilla looked when she saw her by the bridge that day. She remembered her past self with just a look on her expression. Ophelia is more than happy that she is better now. She then learns that Camilla and Catherine are close friends. Camilla complains about the trouble the girl is usually in, citing the incident with the men from earlier. She mentions that it is Catherine's brother, the incredibly rich Baron Scion Pulvia, who usually rescues her. However, he is too busy with his various business ventures, so the responsibility falls onto her. To Ophelia's everlasting surprise, Catherine asks her when she's going to announce her marriage to Duke Bryant. I completely agree. We want progress! Of course, Ophelia denies everything and wants Camilla to stop talking such nonsense. I don't think so. Just marry each other already! Osteon and Ophelia are with Prince Chester. After giving out his report regarding the construction, Osteon notices that the prince is bothered about something. Chester shares that Count Naish, the principal shareholder of the arts and culture facility in the noble sector, has learned about the art center. The prince doesn't want to deal with the man because negotiating requires so much thinking. In other words, he doesn't want to do it. For a prince, he sure can be lazy. The prince reasons further that he has a lot on his plate, especially the Alkimonos bidding. Ophelia easily recognizes it because the flower is popular among the nobles, and the competition to acquire it is quite fierce. She easily comes up with something to help them get ahead in the auction, a plan that she has yet to tell her companions, much to the prince's dismay. On their way out of the palace, Ophelia and Osteon bump into someone unexpectedly. It's Marquis Barcella, her ex-father-in-law. Talk about an awkward situation. She flinches when he calmly asks them if they came to see the second prince. She answers him politely, and she learns that the man is there for business as well. Ophelia is confused as to why the man doesn't seem to resent her. She did, after all, send his son to the convent. She asks the Marquis about Count Naish, since the man hunts with the Count often. He answers that his friend is more into fencing this day. However, he then asks her why she is interested in the Count. Rather than answering, she asks him if he is bidding on the Alkimonos. When he answers that he is thinking about it, she advises him to let it go. Before she leaves with her arm looped with Duke Bryant, she tells the Marquis that she would like to discuss Count Naish's business soon. 2 letters have arrived addressed to Ophelia. One is from the second prince, telling her that he can't wait to hear more about the bidding from her. She grins knowingly, for she is well aware that the flowers the people are desperate to have are indeed rotten inside. She opens the other letter, and this time it's from Marquis Barcella. He is asking to meet with her in the Imperial Palace Glass Garden. She is meeting with her ex-father-in-law, unsure what he wants to speak to her about. After a moment, she asks Anna about the whereabouts of the boys. She plans to have a picnic with them after their classes. Yee! She can finally spend some time with her little family. The 2 children excitedly approach her for their picnic. Noah is enthusiastic as ever, exuberantly telling Ophelia about his studies and how he wants to learn how to shoot a gun. Oh, what an interesting hobby, Noah. You better be careful, though. Ophelia is shocked, but she tells the boy that if he promises to be careful, she'll allow it. Everett, ever the shy boy he is, tells her that he isn't sure what he is good at yet. Ophelia gently tells him that he has to think about what he is most interested in. She tells the children that from then on, they should think about the things they really want to do. Suddenly, the boys ask her if she's going to marry Duke Bryant. Ophelia is baffled, stuttering as she asks him where the idea came from. Ugh, Ophelia, I bet this will happen sooner than later. My fingers are crossed. Everett then worriedly asks what will happen to them if she marries. Ophelia calmly tells them that even if she gets married, the 2 of them will always have a place in the Heaven Walker house. Overjoyed, the boys hug her tightly, asking her to stay with them for a long time. Aw, how sweet! She really did make a family of her own. Later on, Ophelia is walking with Osteon, telling him how the boys were quite anxious. She disclosed that they actually thought that they would marry, worried that they would be sent away. Osteon then declares that he actually would like to get married to her. Is this a proposal, mister? Give us a heads up, will you? Ophelia instantly turns into a tomato, shocked beyond words. She exclaims that he is talking about such things too casually. He grabs her waist and confesses that he is not taking it lightly and that this is just how he feels. Woo! Ophelia, you lucky girl! You get to have Duke Bryant and we can't! How unfair! Like the gentleman he is, he assures her that he will do as she pleases and that she doesn't have to be pressured. Can he be any more perfect? It's impossible at this point. He then goes to get drinks for the both of them, leaving a rather destabilized Ophelia. She worries that she'll make the same mistakes in this life again. But as Osteon returns with a flute of white wine on hand, she can't help but want to find true love and her happily ever after. Ophelia is sitting across from the Marquis Barcella. The Marquis instantly asks her what she wants. He explains that he is grateful for her advice regarding the Alkimonos bidding, since his losses are cut in half. However, he knows that she expects something in return, guessing that it has something to do with Count Naish's business. She confirms his guess, detailing that she wants to negotiate about the upcoming art center. He is well aware that she helped him a great deal. However, Count Naish is a difficult person to persuade. In order to display her sincerity further, Ophelia tells him about a second vessel carrying Alkimonos arriving soon. She wants him to tell Count Naish to not purchase Alkimonos this time either, due to the possibility of a great loss. Silence reigns after that, and is only broken when she expresses how strange their situation is. She thinks that he is uncomfortable to be sitting with someone who has sent his son to the monastery. She asks him if he resents her. Most especially, she asks why he has abandoned his son as well. The Marquis answers that the Countess might have changed so much, but she is as stubborn as ever. He recalls how Ophelia came to him and his wife, wanting to marry their son. His wife has treated her badly, and he stood on the sidelines because he thought it wasn't his business. He now tells her to hold on to the feeling of humiliation she felt that day, and to stay out of their family's affair. He wants them to go on their own way now that his son is paying for his crimes. Before he takes his leave, he tells her that he did not defend his son in the end because of guilt, leaving her baffled as he bids her goodbye. After a while, the second vessel carrying alcamonos arrive, and once again, the competition to acquire them grows fiercer. Because of her advice, the imperial family did not purchase the flowers. Rightly so, because the alcamonos buds did not blossom. The second prince is amazed that the Countess is able to predict this. What a mood! Money is indeed a universal problem for people even if you are a prince. Because of this as well, the negotiation with Count Naish goes smoothly. Meanwhile, Lady Camilla comes across a bunch of ladies making fun of Lady Catherine, insulting the poor girl without her knowledge. Camilla menacingly asks to join their conversation, wanting to know what they are laughing about. The others are quick to flee, lest they have to face Camilla's fierce anger. Dismayed by Catherine's cluelessness, she recommends a book where she will learn about the sarcastic remark she had heard. Despite being adorable, Catherine's innocence is giving Camilla a headache. While they are conversing, someone approaches them. It is Baron Scion Polvia, Catherine's older brother. As Catherine hugs her brother, Camilla tells the Baron that he is once again late. Camilla then asks him if he heeded her advice about getting an etiquette teacher for Catherine. To her surprise, it is Catherine who reacts strongly, complaining that the teacher kept hitting her palm. Camilla is horrified that someone dared to do this to a Baron's sister. She insists on recommending a teacher for Catherine herself, and despite Scion's polite refusal, she is determined to help since she can't take it when Catherine gets picked on. After her passionate rant, she wonders if she's being harsh. Before she leaves, Scion, with a blush on his face, timidly asks her if she would like to go out for dinner. Unfortunately for the adorable Baron, before he can even finish his invitation, she flat out says no. Apparently, handsome men are too much work for her. She is such a mood. Later on, Catherine bumps into Ophelia. They greet each other happily. The two are conversing for a moment when a distressed Scion rushes to them. He is worried that his sister has somehow offended the Countess. Ophelia assures him that they are just saying hello and that Lady Camilla has told her everything. Ophelia is about to take her leave when Scion invites her to dinner. Ophelia figures that he wants her advice about something. Ophelia knows that Scion is a great businessman, so she agrees, and even Catherine is overjoyed about sharing a meal with her. At dinner, it just so happens that the topic of conversation is Camilla. Catherine describes Camilla in detail, and Ophelia declares that her friend is actually sweet once you get to know her. However, what intrigued Ophelia was how Scion wholeheartedly agreed with her. She then declares that she wants to get to know the siblings more, starting with why they moved to the capital. Ophelia and Ostian are in a carriage, and he notices that she is in a rather good mood. He notes that she has been smiling for a while now. Ophelia reasons that she must be excited to have a meeting with him. However, the real reason is actually because our heroine is shipping Scion and Camilla. She thinks that seeing him be so nervous around her friend is such a precious sight. Moments later, the two of them arrive at their destination. They are attending the Avid Trousseau expedition, and the man of the hour himself welcomes them to the pre-opening party. As Avid tours them around, Ophelia is irked that the man is speaking as if he was the one to make all the works of art. OMG, how shameless! It is in fact Xavier that is the real artist. The man can't even give a deeper meaning to the paintings that are exhibited. She wonders how Xavier would have responded. She is determined to expose Avid as a fraud, but she has to bide her time. 3 days before the actual exhibition, she meets with the director of art of the museum. She talks about how the imperial family is paying attention to Avid Trousseau, and the prince himself has tasked her to keep an eye on him. She then tells him that she has brought the Phaedon lamps, the expensive wonder glass lamp, to add to the upcoming event. She instructs the director to install them, for she will reveal them on the day of the exhibition. She also wants it to be kept secret, especially from Avid himself. A day before the exhibit, Ophelia comes barging into the home of Xavier. He and his brother are startled to see the Countess in their home. Even more so when the lady brings with her a team of stylists to transform Xavier from his rowdy appearance into something more refined. While his brother is being attended to, Nicholas talks to Ophelia and asks her to leave his brother alone if her intentions are impure. She assures him that she is his sponsor because she sees his talent and potential. She only wishes for his happiness. The day of the exhibition has arrived, and Avid is pulling up quite a performance. Ophelia, on the other hand, is merely biding her time before she strikes. While she and Duke Bryant are conversing, the director of the museum greets them. He offers to show them around, and Ophelia can only smirk since it's almost time. Ophelia actually enjoys looking around, and both she and the Duke are amazed by the works of art. Hearing her compliment the paintings, Avid approaches them, grateful for her words. Ugh, what a joke! You're not the one who made them, you thief! Ophelia then begins rambling about the painting since it depicts a popular mythology. Avid, on the other hand, is visibly nervous as he notes that the Countess is quite well informed. Right then, she instructs the director to prepare her request. And so, the Phaedon lamps are revealed, and Ophelia announces that it is her gift for the successful painter. When the lamps are turned on, the guests are amazed by their beauty. However, their amazement soon turns to horror when they see that the paintings have writings on them, declaring Avid as a fraud and a liar. The people are outraged, wanting to hear an explanation for the so-called painter's deceit. The people begin to berate Avid, and that is when Xavier, with his new and improved look, steps forward and claims the paintings as his own. The truth has been revealed. In the middle of the commotion, Ophelia reminds Avid about their contract. If his reputation is damaged, he must pay a penalty of 3 times the contract fee. Before she leaves, she cheekily winks at the disgraced man. Honestly, this is karma for his arrogance. Serves him right, I say. Our Xavier finally gets the recognition he deserves. It is raining as Ophelia and Osteon leave the exhibit, and Xavier chases after them. Despite panting so much, he gives his utmost thanks to her for helping him. He asks why she did so, and she answers that everyone goes through the harsh winter. All she wants is for his spring to come soon. Currently, Ophelia is delivering documents to the palace regarding Avid's penalty. Avid's reputation is ruined beyond repair, and despite the man's denial of having ghost painters, and even suing Ophelia herself, Avid seems to have reached a point of no return. Even just living in the capital will be difficult for him. Meanwhile, Xavier's paintings marked with dyes are beginning to sell at high prices. Even the imperial family bought one. After a while, Ophelia reaches her destination, and she finds Osteon alone in the prince's office. Seeing that the prince is not there yet, she convinces Osteon that they should just leave the documents and head out. She grabs his arm and practically drags him out of there, promising that the prince will forgive them anyway. They go outside, and the Duke takes off the scarf he is wearing and gently wraps it around her neck. Oh, so adorable. He really is the perfect gentleman. He then correctly guesses that Ophelia is avoiding the prince because he keeps on prying for information about the young artist. Not only that, he is also asking for her opinion regarding a policy. As they continue walking, they hear a distinct voice calling for her attention. Ophelia pretends not to hear it, but the voice is persistent, and it is none other than the third prince, Mikhail. When he catches up to them, he enthusiastically declares that he'll show her his skills with the violin. The prince has been persistently asking her to recruit him as an artist for some time now. Even though she has rejected his request, he still chases after her. Ophelia once again reminds the prince that she has no authority in this matter in any way. However, the prince is still determined. She suggests he talk to Prince Chester instead, but Prince Mikhail sulkily tells her that it's hard to see his brother these days. Before Ophelia can propose an escape, Osteon suggests that they listen to the prince first. He makes a deal with Prince Mikhail. They will listen to him, but he will stop putting the Countess in difficult positions. The boy readily agrees, even calling Duke Bryant a sensible man. It's kind of funny that this kid talks like an adult. The prince leads them to his palace, and he plays for them. Despite being the first time that he performed in front of people, the prince's performance amazed his audience. The prince proudly asks how he did, and Ophelia expresses that he is excellent. The prince is overjoyed, asking her if she's willing to recruit him now. Unfortunately, Ophelia explains that it is really not up to him. The prince is annoyed for a second, but then merely asks that she tell Prince Chester about his skill. He even asks them to tell him about his brother, taking them aback. Is he not close with his older brother? Why does he have to ask this from other people? Later on, Ophelia comes across Camilla and Catherine. The young girl is trying to make Camilla try a cosmetic product that Camilla is obviously against. The Countess greets the two, and they are surprised by her presence. Camilla complains that it's hard to see her these days, reminding Ophelia not to work too hard. Ophelia then brings the topic back to the cosmetic product, and Camilla rants that the product is probably dangerous, especially since the effect is quick. She also looked into the cosmetic brand, and it is from Viscount Gregory's corporation, specifically the Viscountess. Camilla is quite distrustful of her since she has been acting suspiciously lately. Before Camilla becomes even more annoyed, Ophelia asks her friend about what she thinks of Baron Polvia, clearly putting her matchmaking into motion. She then straightforwardly asks her blushing friend if she's interested in him. Camilla denies this, but Ophelia encourages her to at least meet him once. To stop Ophelia from badgering her further, Camilla answers that she'll think about it. Afterward, the days that follow are quite peaceful. Prince Mikhail has stopped bothering her, and Prince Chester has stopped calling for her. She is happy to have time for herself, but it only lasts for like 3 seconds. Prince Mikhail arrives at her home, causing a ruckus and claiming that the Countess has tricked him. The young prince is throwing a tantrum because Ophelia is yet to talk to Chester about him. He exclaims that she hasn't kept her promise. Turns out, Ophelia has forgotten, and the prince is even more outraged when she tries to act like she did nothing wrong. Ophelia calms him down and promises to speak with Prince Chester as soon as possible. Prince Mikhail agrees easily enough, but demands that she compliments him in front of his brother. The prince then notices that she's carrying flowers. She explains that she's on her way to the painter she sponsors. The prince demands that he go with her, and even though Ophelia wants to go alone, she has no choice but to bring him along. When she arrives at the Hill residence, Xavier greets her warmly. Handing him the flowers she has brought, she congratulates him and announces that he will have his first solo exhibition. Way to go, Xavier! Nicholas is overjoyed to hear of his brother's success, thanking Ophelia for all she's done. Xavier is curious about Ophelia's companion, so she introduces Mikhail to them. The boy congratulates Xavier as well. He then mentions that Xavier and his brother are quite close. Xavier answers that they get along most of the time. Seeing that the boy's mood dampens, Xavier tells him that they used to fight a lot, though. The prince is curious about this, so Xavier explains that being close comes later when they are older. He shares that Nicholas used to beat him up when they were kids and nags all the time. Nicholas teases his brother in turn about the time that he bawled when he couldn't get down the tree. He shares that Xavier used to think that he was the coolest person in the world. Observing the young prince staring at the two brothers having such an interaction, Ophelia realizes something. On their way back, she asks the prince why he really wants to be part of the art center. She questions if he thinks that the violin is his future career path. But the prince denies this, even rejecting her offer of helping him get to the orchestra. That is how she confirms her suspicion. Later on, she finally pays Prince Chester a visit. The prince is aware that his little brother has been tailing Ophelia recently. She asks him why he hasn't been doing something about it, but the prince reasons that he has been busy. She demands if the prince even knew that his brother is interested in the art center and that he wants to be a violinist. Chester is taken aback because he knows that his brother hates standing in front of strangers. Ophelia glares at the prince and notes that he doesn't seem to care about his own brother. She accuses him of using his work to avoid the third prince. And Ophelia is beginning to doubt that Mikhail is getting any love from his family at all. She doesn't want to meddle with other people's family affairs, but she can't just ignore this. She sternly tells the prince that he should find out why his little brother is acting this way. Ophelia points out to Prince Chester that his brother Mikhail doesn't seem to be getting any familial or friendly attention. Chester responds that when Mikhail was younger, he barely had any close friends to begin with. At one point in Mikhail's childhood, he merely stopped inviting friends over, claiming that he no longer liked them. As Mikhail sits and begins to drift off into a nap, a memory replays in his head. A younger Mikhail waits for his friends to come. Perhaps feeling playful, Mikhail hides behind the curtains while waiting for others to arrive. Maybe he wanted to surprise them by giving them a jump scare. Many noble children of his age arrive, and they are visibly looking for Mikhail. Events take an unexpected turn when the children begin to reveal their true colors. Mikhail finds out that the noble children only befriended him to strengthen family relations, become closer to the crown, and even try to make money out of him. In a fit of hurt, Mikhail runs out, not even looking back at the people he once considered friends. How dare these children hurt such a sweet child? Mikhail's nap is interrupted by Chester, much to Mikhail's surprise. Finally, his brother came to see him. Chester cheerfully greets him, but Mikhail does not reciprocate. The young prince is hurt that his older brother hardly comes to see him at all. Trying to lighten up the situation, Chester begins to strike up a conversation about Mikhail's interest in the art center. This breaks the ice between them, and Mikhail begins to interact openly with Chester. I'm glad Mikhail is learning to open up to his brother now. As the two begin to catch up, it is evident that both princes are getting along well. Even though Mikhail is the second prince's brother, this doesn't mean that Chester will allow him to partake in the arts center activities so easily. Without protest, Mikhail understands and agrees with his brother's words. Mikhail has a mature side to his cute appearance. Meanwhile, Osteon convenes with his men about how large sums of money have been spent on Greyjohn. Osteon asks his men to investigate immediately. As he leaves, his men point out that news and rumors have been circulating around. Everyone's talking about Osteon and Ophelia's marriage. Duke Osteon Bryant and Countess Ophelia Heavenwalker accompany each other at Earl Hester's party. After both exchange formalities with Earl Hester, Osteon excuses himself to interact with the other nobles. Ophelia and Hester chat together, but Ophelia is too much in awe of the many beautiful ladies attending the party. Out of curiosity, she bombards Hester with questions. Who are they? Where are they from? They look so beautiful. Is there a new beauty trend going around? Hester chuckles lightly at Ophelia's fangirling over the ladies. As she should. Women support women after all. Shortly, Lady Gregory catches Ophelia's attention with how much her appearance has changed. In the past, Lady Gregory had a rigid image with very dark skin, but now her skin is glowing and her smile is mesmerizing. What could her beauty secret be? Hester tells Ophelia that Lady Gregory has started a cosmetics business, and it seems that everyone is looking forward to trying her products. Soon after their conversation, Ophelia excuses herself and seeks out to find Osteon. She stops in her tracks as a noble named Lancelot Bower intercepts her and asks her about the good news. Realizing what Lancelot means? This is definitely the news of her and Osteon's marriage. Ophelia blushes profusely. Suddenly, Osteon appears next to her and tells Lancelot that there is no need to make haste for anything. Ophelia realizes that all these news and rumors also affect Osteon's image, as he's the only high-ranking noble who isn't married yet. But despite all that, Osteon still respects her decision and doesn't pressure her into marriage at all. Osteon is a green flag for real. Later on, Ophelia asks Osteon to dance with her, to which Osteon happily agrees. As the couple make their way to the ballroom dance floor, they are both visibly affectionate with each other. Ophelia eyes Osteon, and her expression softens. Ophelia caresses Osteon's cheek, and he flusters at this act. Worried that something might be plaguing Ophelia, Osteon asks her what's wrong. Their conversation is cut short when a commotion rises from the crowd. Lady Gregory has collapsed all of a sudden. Everyone at the party runs to Lady Gregory's aid as she loses consciousness. However, their attention to her passes quickly since one by one other noble ladies begin to collapse. Even in the following days, ladies at the capital soon begin to faint and never woke. The ladies who fainted exhibit the same symptoms: a long slumber with pale skin but still intact beauty. Reading a newspaper, Ophelia comes across an article written about the recent events. Somehow, people are now dubbing it as a disease that only affects women. Ophelia is soon broken from her thoughts as her maiden informs her of Camilla's sudden arrival. Camilla acts with urgency, and Ophelia sees the dread spread out on her face. Oh no! What could have happened? Camilla reveals that their dear friend, Catherine Polvia, has also fallen victim to the Sleeping Beauty disease. Trying to pinpoint the cause of all these cases, Camilla remarks that almost everyone who collapses uses the same trending cosmetic. Without further ado, Ophelia asks Camilla to take care of Catherine as she takes her leave to investigate the cosmetic line. Upon reaching the cosmetic store, Ophelia meets Jack, a mage that she once met before. Ophelia immediately suspects that Jack has something to do with the cosmetics, probably even putting a spell on it. Jack does seem suspicious considering his background and the way he's acting right now. Haughty as ever, Jack denies that he had any involvement in the magic cast on the cosmetics. Realizing that Ophelia still hasn't cleared him of her suspicions, Jack tells her that indeed there is a spell cast on the products, but the magic work was not his. Jack reminds Ophelia that she shouldn't forget the basics. Find out what the cosmetics are made of. Ophelia is still wary of Jack, however, she interrogates him to find out more. Worried about all the ladies in slumber, Ophelia asks Jack what would become of those who are in a coma. Without missing a beat, Jack tells Ophelia that all of them will ultimately die. Okay, now that is a downright ominous atmosphere right there. They will all die. Ophelia's expression is instantly grim at what Jack just said. Seeing how affected Ophelia is, Jack tells her to find the mage responsible for casting the spell. However, before their meeting ends, Jack offers for Ophelia to work with him in finding the culprit. Back at the palace, Ophelia tells Osteon about the plan to work with Jack. Osteon agrees, but is unsure whether the mage can execute taming the criminals as part of the plan. Either way, Osteon offers to help and see through the plan with Ophelia. Aww, Osteon is always there to support Ophelia. The very next day, Ophelia visits Shushubo, the store where the cosmetics are being sold. To avoid other ladies from falling victim to the cosmetics, Ophelia buys out all the stocks and inventories of the cosmetic store. She notes that ever since she started buying out the products, the number of victims has decreased greatly. Meanwhile, at the palace, Second Prince Chester invites Viscount Gregory to convene with the recent events. Chester tells the Viscount that his wife's cosmetic business has caused chaos over the capital, leaving many ladies as victims. Viscount Gregory, in turn, responds that he knows nothing, not the spell and not the ingredients of the cosmetics. Seeing how the Viscount isn't cooperating, Chester tells the Viscount that he still has to take responsibility as Viscount and Lady Gregory's actions could cause a national civil war. Ophelia, arriving at the palace, offers Viscount Gregory a magical antidote made by Jack to wake Lady Gregory. Should she wake up, then she should assume the responsibility of correcting their misdoings. However, should the conflict remain unresolved, the Imperial Guards will arrest the Viscount. After leaving the palace, the Viscount is enraged at being confronted like that. Well, what else would you expect from someone who has no accountability? Inside the carriage, the Viscount reflects on his marriage with his wife. Even though it was a marriage out of politics, their relationship was neither good nor bad. But at some point, Lady Gregory's behavioral changes became noticeable to the Viscount. I wonder what made the lady change all of a sudden. The Viscount continues remembering his wife's changes. He recalls that his wife suggesting a cosmetic business was very out of the blue. Despite his refusal, his wife's assertiveness and strange gaze made him give in. Soon enough, his wife's appearance changed as well. She became more glowing and radiant day by day. She became softer in personality, always sporting a smile. The Viscount found satisfaction in his wife's changes, which is why he supported her business. But one day, she brought in a strange woman clad in a red cape, claiming that the woman was the cosmetic maker of Shushubo. Until now, the Viscount suspects the strange woman had something to do with this situation. As soon as the Viscount arrives at his manor, he immediately brings the antidote to his wife. Lo and behold, the antidote works. Lady Gregory awakes, although her movements are slow and weak. Even though his wife is in a weak state, the Viscount berates her and forces her to deal with the situation regarding the cosmetics. Jeez, does he even pity his wife at all? Weakly, Lady Gregory insists that she should meet with the strange woman immediately. Downtown, Osteon and Jack, along with the Imperial Guard, set out on an operation to catch the female mage that Lady Gregory conspired with. They spot the mage and follow her to a building that could be her magical headquarters. Be careful, Osteon. Magic is dangerous. So as not to startle the mage, Osteon and Jack enter the building through the basement passage. But as they approach, they notice that another woman has already beaten them to confront the mage. Lady Gregory lashes out at the mage. The mage retorts that she simply granted the lady's wish, which was to become more beautiful and take revenge on those who looked down on her. Lady Gregory acknowledges this, but she's still angry at the mage because she never mentioned any side effects, especially one that puts users in a coma. Oh, so she was unaware that the mage was plotting something. The mage shows no concern for Lady Gregory's situation. Instead, she tells the lady that she should even be thanking her for allowing her to enjoy happiness before dying. A flashback plays itself as events unfold. Upon coming to the capital, Lady Gregory grows more insecure about her looks day by day. She knows her husband no longer has feelings for her. The ladies openly mock her for not being pretty. Her life seems so miserable at this point. Lady Gregory only ever felt hopeful when the mage, Dorothy, approached her and promised to help her. Desperate to end her misery, Lady Gregory strikes a deal with the mage to make herself more beautiful and take revenge on others. I feel sad for her. All she ever wanted was to be accepted. As she brings her thoughts back to the present, Lady Gregory despairs at the consequences of her actions. In tears, she asks Dorothy to turn her back into her old self. Dorothy mocks Lady Gregory and continues to verbally torment her. What a true villainess! Her verbal torment is cut short when Jack reveals himself along with Osteon. Jack remarks that Dorothy is still the same as ever, still scamming people for a living. Dorothy does not back down and tells Jack that his interference in making the antidote and waking Lady Gregory has disrupted her plans. Turning his head to Lady Gregory's direction, Jack admits that it cannot be helped. Lady Gregory will ultimately die because of Dorothy's spell. What? Can he do anything to help her? Dorothy turns to leave, but Ocean's men make a move to stop her. Using her magic, Dorothy deters their attacks. In a fit of anger, Jack summons a three-headed dog engulfed in flames to punish Dorothy for meddling with the outside world. Seething with anger, Dorothy moves to retaliate but is overwhelmed by Jack's magic. She begins to notice her features fade away into nothingness. With an unremorseful look, Jack tells Dorothy that he's only helping her get back to the beginning. Ocean is taken aback at the scene, but what he doesn't notice is that someone is drawing a blade behind him. A man charges at Ocean with his blade drawn. Jack notices and quickly turns to Ocean's direction. Unexpectedly, Ocean counters the man's attack and leaves him incapacitated. As the turmoil dies down, Jack and Ocean assess what has become of Dorothy. Jack's magic was strong enough to hold down Dorothy and reduce her to a mere flower. Ocean clarifies if she's still alive, to which Jack answers yes. Hearing this, Ocean realizes that he cannot arrest Dorothy for her crimes. Before both men leave the scene, Jack requests that Ocean leave the matter of dealing with Dorothy to him. Jack will not go soft on her as he needs to punish her in the way of mages. To make up for the situation, Jack offers to make antidotes for the ladies in a coma. After that, their existence as mages will remain in secrecy once again. A few days later, the ladies who fell into a coma begin to wake. Woo! I was really worried for Catherine and the others. For the Imperial Palace, it was their duty to provide transparency on recent events. Revealing the situation, the palace explains that it was Gregory's cosmetics that caused the chaos of targeting nobles. The Gregory couple are to face the consequences of their actions and take responsibility for the affected. As a result, they are to leave the capital with no protests. Nothing is going favorably for the couple after that. The Viscount and Lady Gregory experience a quiet divorce. Soon after, Lady Gregory suffers from mental illness. Their business at the capital is closed down and they were left to their own devices. I actually feel bad for Lady Gregory. I hope she gets a redemption arc soon. In the end, the royal family forcibly limited cosmetics to calm public opinion. In the evening, Ophelia and Baron Sion, Catherine's brother, meet moments before Sion pays Catherine a visit. Ophelia remarks that things seem to be progressing between Camilla and Sion. With that, she asks Sion a favor. This favor seems to leave Sion in awe and speechless. What is Ophelia planning? The next day, Ophelia arrives at a place where she meets with Sion to discuss matters. I guess this was Ophelia's favor, to set up a meeting place for them to convene. The two begin talking about Catherine and Camilla. Sion jokingly shares that Catherine is probably indulging Camilla's care too much. Getting serious for their meeting, Ophelia brings up the topic of white fox fur. Apparently, the white fox fur is becoming extremely popular. However, Ophelia doesn't take an interest in the white fox fur, as she asks Sion if he's planning to bring something better than white fox fur. Hearing this, Sion holds drinking his tea, and he is baffled at what Ophelia just said. He admits that he didn't expect Ophelia to know about his plan of doing business relating to animal fur. In turn, Ophelia admits that she only heard it from an acquaintance. As if coming into silent agreement, both nobles think of Chester immediately. Chester is so predictable. Ophelia offers to aid Sion with a new venture of his. Shocked, Sion says that she is too optimistic and she might not even get anything back. Ophelia does not falter. She tells Sion that even if she receives nothing in return, she is still willing to lend him a hand. This gladdens Sion to have someone he can rely on. Just based on this interaction, I can sense that Ophelia has pure intentions and no ulterior motive of helping Sion. Meanwhile, back at the palace, Everett, Noah, and Mikhail bond together. In an attempt to break the ice, Noah asks Mikhail what he usually does as a pastime. While waiting for Mikhail to answer, both Noah and Everett share their pastimes as well, but end up in a playful verbal quarrel. Upon seeing both of them act that way, Mikhail remarks that Everett and Noah are incredibly close. Mikhail tells both of them that his pastimes are usually spent either practicing violin, playing chess, or occasionally sneaking out. Hearing that both are in awe of Mikhail's skills and abilities, Everett, with genuine intentions, asks if Mikhail can perform for them, to which Mikhail gladly agrees with so much energy. Finally, Mikhail is making new friends again! In the Imperial Palace, Ophelia meets with Chester to discuss an unreasonable request. Chester begs Ophelia to reiterate her request as he was taken aback when she first mentioned it. Complying, Ophelia asks Chester to give her the right to use military power. She explains that a pack of wolves have appeared on the way to the capital, and if they aren't taken care of, the East would ultimately be blocked off from the capital. Hearing this, Chester tells her that responsibilities like those rest on the Lord of the land that are affected. Ophelia justifies her request, claiming that the landslide in the East has kept the Lord preoccupied at the moment. Chester replies that he would have to consult others before making a decision such as the one Ophelia requests. After more persuading, Chester gives in, approves, and wishes Ophelia luck on whatever she's planning. As expected, Ophelia never takes no for an answer. You go, girl! In turn, Ophelia thanks Chester for approving her unreasonable request. Later on, Ophelia and Osteon meet and dine together. Osteon enthusiastically shares about his preparations for the New Year's party. However, he notices that Ophelia seems rather off today. Ophelia is deep in thought when Osteon calls her attention. Embarrassed at zoning out of their conversation, Ophelia tries to smile to lighten up the mood. She can't possibly confess to Osteon that she was thinking of marriage the entire time. LOL! I can't believe this was the reason she couldn't focus. Worried for Ophelia, Osteon asks her to take a rest and recuperate. After their meal together, Osteon goes directly to his sister's manor. He explains to his sister about the earlier situation with Ophelia, how he didn't know what Ophelia was thinking about, and how she sat blankly and allowed her thoughts to wander. Initially, his sister suspected that they had a lover's quarrel, but now it seems the situation is far deeper than a mere fight. Osteon further explains that not too long ago, Ophelia was bombarded by the rumors of marriage. He worries that it might be pressuring her and taking a toll on her. Grace clarifies if the marriage in question is between Osteon and Ophelia, to which Osteon replies that it was only natural that it would be them. Hearing this, Grace cannot identify the issue. Did Osteon not want to get married? Or maybe Ophelia? Clearing the air, Osteon remarks that Ophelia may not be mentally prepared to marry him. Uttering these words leaves a sad expression on Osteon's face. Oh, don't worry, Osteon. I'm more than ready. I'm sure Ophelia will be ready eventually. So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!